Ani, can you talk about what the starting mindset is if someone applies for a tourist visa? They go to their embassy interview, they've completed the DS-160, they have all their documents ready to go. They see an officer. What is the officer thinking based on what they've been trained to think in that situation?
The first thought that they have is that, okay, he or she or they would want to stay in the United States and they would not want to come back in their home country. And this is called immigrant intent. So every consular officer sees in every single applicant a potential immigrant into the United States. So, and
And it's
the
in the law
burden
that they're
is on the
supposed to do
applicant.
that. They're trained. First, you assume that they have immigrant intent. Then it's up to the applicant to say differently.
Right, to prove otherwise. So it's
Yeah.
the burden of proof is on the applicant to show that no, we just want to come to the United States, have fun, right? See family, see friends, right? Travel, see the country, right? Go to Disneyland and come back home, right? And it's number one, probably reason for the denial
Yeah.
for tourists.
And not just for tourist visas, but also for student visas, for a lot of other kinds of visas. But we're primarily focused on the B2 tourist visa right now.
Yes, exactly. Some visas are specifically exempt from this
Mhm.
immigrant intent, I would call it like that, requirement, right? H1 visa, but not H1B1 visa, right?
Yeah.
L visa, and I think V visa, which is
Very rare. You don't get those anymore. It's
yeah,
maybe like 20 years ago people get V visas. But yeah, so essentially the
exactly.
H1B and the L are the exception, but not H1B1, which is specialty for like Chile or Singapore. So it's really complex, but even E visas could be subject to it, even though they're usually not one. I don't want to get too complex with the investment visas and stuff, but what could you show the embassy officer to make them comfortable to know that you're not going to be staying and remain in the United States past your time?
Well, what they want to see your ties to your home country, right? And the
Mhm.
ties can be in different forms. For example, you have family, right, in your home country, and you have kids, and now you are, for example, traveling for conference or something like that, right, or to see like your relative, right, and you're
Mhm.
traveling without your family. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad, right, because one consular officer will look at that and say, hey, why are you not taking your wife and kids with you, right? And the second consular officer will say, probably it's okay, so
Yeah.
again, it depends, right? You need to
Because they
show
know
that you have
that they're
steady
like,
job.
yeah, that the person may come without the family, file for asylum, and then bring the family there. So they're paranoid about that. But some officer may have the opposite. Be like, oh, your family staying is good. There's no way to really prep for it other than being yourself and hoping for the best. But go ahead, you were give another example.
Exactly, yes. And another thing that shows your ties to your home country is job, of course. And if it's a good, well-paid job, you've been working there for some, I would not say long time, but for some time, right? It not necessarily has to be like 5 years, all right, or
Yeah.
10 years. No, no. But it's good too, right?
Mhm.
Showing that you have, for example, your life is set again in your home country, and you're totally comfortable with living there, right? You have the
Yeah.
assets, you earn good money, you have place to live, right? You have car, you have family there, yeah. So all that.
Yeah. I've had cases where an 18-year-old went to the embassy with none of this and they were approved, and I had a 4-year-old who had a factory and two kids and they were denied. So the reality is for these tourist visas is if you're interested, you apply for it and it may work, it may not. As immigration attorneys, one primary role I believe that we do is to avoid doing something that can look bad and hurt you in the future. For example, part of it, you have to fill out a form DS-160. And I've had clients not list certain things about work history or military history because they didn't think it was important or they weren't paying attention. Or many times they have a friend fill it out because their English is not good or the travel agency fills it out. And when they do that, they miss information. The person may go to the embassy interview, get approved or denied, whatever. 5 years from now, they win the diversity visa green card lottery and they go to the interview and they say, well, in a tourist visa, you told us one thing, but now you're telling us something different. You're committing fraud. You've committed fraud in the past. We're not going to approve you. And the fraud was something that should have been fixed. It could have been easily fixed. And that's why our job is to kind of make sure that you do everything properly. At the end of the day, it's up to the immigration or the consular officer to be able to make a decision. Well, make the best look that you can have. But my job is really to prevent you from doing or something that causes you to denial then because of that reason or future reasons for fraud or misrepresentation. Because I do see it frequently where people get really messed up for a tourist visa application they did 10 years ago that they did in a hurry, they weren't paying attention, or their travel agent did for them and didn't bother asking them questions to get a more detailed application. That's what our job here is for these kind of cases.
Another thing that we see is that applicants, they put that they're married or not married when in fact they're married or not married, right? And they think, "Oh, okay, if I'm married, probably," and they will ask me why you're not coming with your wife, so I will put unmarried there, or vice versa. It works both ways, right? So please, you always have to tell the truth.
Yeah, exactly. U.S. immigration is so strict, and a lot of countries are more easygoing when it comes to form filling and stuff. But no, the U.S. each question on the form is designed to get you later, so you have to be very careful and just be honest. It's better to be honest and get denied than to get approved with dishonesty because it's going to catch up with you. It's going to follow you in your immigration process. We see it all the time.
Right, and the some questions in the in DS 160, which is immigrant visa application, right? They're tricky. For example, there is such an option. You're like, what is your marital status? And one of the options is common law marriage, right? And a lot of people misinterpreted it, and they think, okay, if I'm living with a person, so this is my like common law spouse, right? But this is not the thing, right? Um, depending on the legislation of the country where you're from, where you currently live.
That it goes. There's
Uh,
so many countries, so many different rules, and you got to really look at each to see how it's interpreted and what documents you have and how it looks. It's a whole mess. But that's U.S.
exactly.
immigration for you.
Right, but you know, they could have put like option like boyfriend or girlfriend or something like that to make it easy for people, so people will understand, okay, yeah, probably this is my option, but there is no such an option, right? And that's why it gets people very confused too.
Yeah, yeah, it messes it up.